She thinks if she shows me enough love. Exactly. On my big car, I was in cool.
I was thinking that when I bring one.
Oh, oh no. Get out.
We are going to Harmony and Beyond. Less than a happy race.
Nothing was ever simple with you.
Yeah, okay, I got it.
Hey, watch your step.
I know.
Thank you for being a good, wonderful person. This is the special meeting of the Elizabethtown City Council on June 26th. Mr. Bennett will bring in.
Our head, please. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, deliver us from evil. Thy is the kingdom, power, glory forever. In Jesus' name, amen.
We have one order of business, a special meeting, and that's municipal order number 32, 2017, authorizing the closing, opening, and transfer of bank accounts. Motion to read, please.
Second.
All those in favor? None opposed. Thank you.
At a regular meeting of the City Council of Elizabethtown, Kentucky, held on the date set out below, a motion to read and adopt the following municipal order was duly made, seconded, and approved. Be it ordered, the City of Elizabethtown authorizes the city treasurer to close, open, and transfer the following bank accounts. To close the following accounts at PNC Bank: the Elizabethtown Water and Gas Deposit Account Customer Checking, Elizabethtown Water and Gas Water Deposit Account Customer Checking, and the City of Elizabethtown Business Premium Money Market Account. And it authorizes to open the following accounts, renaming an existing checking account that will no longer be used at United Bank. The rename will be the Elizabethtown Water and Gas, Water and Sewer Operations and Maintenance to become Elizabethtown Utilities Customer Deposits. Okay, and to transfer the existing certificates of deposit to existing city accounts upon maturity dates ranging from October 2017 through July 2018. Be it further ordered that the mayor of the city and or her designate be and she is hereby authorized and directed to take all steps necessary to perfect this order, read, adopted, and approved as the 26th day of June 2017.
Motion to adopt, please.
Motion. Second.
Those in favor? Opposed. Thank you. Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion. Second.
Those in favor? Thank you. Okay, so Now, welcome to the work session of the Elizabethtown City Council. First order of business, Robert, the detention basin maintenance program.
Let's talk about that some. We're a little further along the path. I think, council, we've presented about this topic in the past, and I think we've know a little more about the status of the basins, and we've started to look at them and do some triage on, likely ones that we could maintain. And I've got some examples here, ones that look like good candidates, but aren't really, based on our criteria that we were using last time we met. That criteria being, they have to, in fee simple, give us the property, and that from that point on, then we would maintain the thing, both from a structural point of view and also from a maintenance point of view, as far as the yard work or the lawn, the mowing and other kinds of maintenance. This is one that probably wouldn't make the cut. It's on Lakewood Park, and it's a basin that has the potential to, right now, the way it looks, it could be maintained, but it's on 2 lots that could be built upon, as long as it were held like those lots there. We'd have full access and it would be maintainable. Right now the basin doesn't serve a lot of value to us. It was built some time ago, and it doesn't seem to be collecting a whole bunch of water. But that's one that, you're on buildable lots, and the fact that a house could be built there could kind of preclude us from first having good access and also having a fee simple deed to the property. So that would fail the test. Yes, sir.
So what's going to happen with that base?
Well, I think I don't want to jump. Well, why not jump ahead? I think what I'm going to propose to you, and we've talked about this before, but a 2-tiered kind of approach to this. I think in these cases, if that basin failed, I think the city, I would be an advocate that we would indeed try to maintain the outlet structure and the structural aspects of the basin. This would be a tier 1 or tier 2, depending on how you wanted to order it. But this could just be, we'll call it tier 1 basin, where, the property owner still cuts it, still provides that weekly maintenance. But in case in a catastrophic failure of the basin, we jump in and rebuild the outlet structure with the large rainfall event. If the basin berm blew out, we'd rebuild that. So we'd be there kind of in the background for that once every 30 years kind of maintenance that would need to be done on it. So, and that's the thing I see most troublesome for people. Most people in that situation that have something in their yards, they're probably mowing it already and, used to mowing it. But in those kind of conditions, if you had one of those catastrophic situations, that would be a critical thing for most people. They wouldn't have the desire, the wherewithal, maybe, to reach in their pocket and spend $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 on a basin to improve it or restore it. So
Right now, the developer still owns that basin.
right now, whoever owns those lots owns the basin. It may not be the developer, or it may be. I don't know exactly who owns those, but yeah.
Where is that, Robert?
This is yeah.
Where I can.
Foxfire Drive is down below there. This is a loop that was built after Foxfire was built.
But you're saying somebody could build a lot, build
Build
a
a
house
house, yeah.
on the same lot that the basin is sitting on?
Yeah. The basin is kind of on the rear of the lot, and it probably could be. And a lot of these fall in that category, but yes.
Further significance, that top right photo, is that the water flow pattern coming down from the hill? Is that-
Yeah. It's kind of all the water comes from up the hill there, I guess. So
And it's
it's
coming
nice.
across one of those empty lots where they could build a house on.
Yeah, it's concentrating kind of in this area, and then it outlets, down here.
So it's
Between these
collecting the water from the
Yeah.
houses on the top.
Yeah, it serves these houses, and it was put in, I think, as an afterthought, and probably wasn't well executed.
Would
My
that still
opinion.
fit with our plan, certain?
Uh,
That we're doing? I mean, if we're
yeah.
correcting that, you could still build a house on that? if
Yeah.
you qualify?
Again, I'm talking without looking at the plat, but I think those lots are still buildable. But that said, yes, the planned certain approach would be advisable if the basins are going to be used, and you certainly wouldn't want to get a house opening up below that outlet structure. But maybe that was a bad one to lead off with. I'll have to think about that in the future. Don't, yeah, she's, don't get a gray one there in the, yeah. This one is similar, but it's a more massive, this is Briarwood Forest. This is the new section that Phillips has been working on. There's right, Briarwood Forest, yeah. And this basin's back here. There are 3 lots right in front of it. And so it's same sort of concept. I don't think it technically would fit the bill of what, I don't think Ed would let me divide that parcel off and generate a lot back there. Now, there may be some way to do it through the planning commission, but you know, as it exists today, it probably doesn't fit our criteria. It would be a developer maintained or a property owner maintained one. But, you know, you might be able to configure something with a different division where it could be generated, but
There's gonna be a cul-de-sac.
there's a cul-de-sac.
at the south.
Oh, okay. Yeah, down in
That's
here. You're
later-
right.
That's later development.
Yeah.
So right at this point, we don't have access to it
Right.
unless we get permission to cross.
Once it's platted with the cul-de-sac, then that could open the door for maintenance there. So this could fit in that second category that we're talking about, where we do indeed maintain and own and that sort of thing. Let's go on to another one. Here's one that looks like it would be easily accessed. It's in Helmwood Heights. Helmwood School's right up here. This basin lies here, and it's right in the guy's front yard, the house that is built there. So it's not going to be separatable from his property, in my opinion. You know, it would be accessible. It's a shallow basin, small impact on that small subdivision. So, needless to say, it would not fit our model of something that we would actively maintain as far as mowing, but we could maintain it in a catastrophic sense if something happened to the outlet structures or it needed major repair. Same way here with Ashton Park. This is one that's under construction right now, and it looks pretty bad in some spots. It's acting as a silt basin right now, but this thing is accessed here through a little passway. So the developer has some intent to probably give it to us in the future. But so if that meets, it already meets Ed's criteria as far as access, then that could be, you know, maintained by us. So we'd have to have a permanent access up through here and define how we wanted to what level of finish that we were going to require there. I mean, obviously they're going to have to meet the standards, get it grassed in and get it to construction grade according to plans. But that one has potential for maintenance. Look at another
When you
one.
say Ed has to prove it, does that mean breaking it off? of
Yeah,
the deed?
yeah. If it can be a legal lot of record through the plat process. And that one, it looks like a flag lot that it was generated. Yeah. Here's one that's in Lakeshire. This is the property, and it looks right now like it's, you know, something that could be maintained by us. But
Where is this one?
this is, yeah, Freeman Lake is back here. Here's this is the development off Deeks that backs up to it. Anyway, but this thing is sitting on a couple of lots, and it has the potential to have houses on it. So it wouldn't fall into our criteria of being a fully maintained basin. We couldn't benefit from our mowing and all that if the way it stands right now. The people may or may not develop that. They've been kind of in a state of flux to reconfigure the basin and move some power lines and generate two lots there. So you just never know. But the way it stands right now, I guess it would not be a candidate for full maintenance and then mowing and all that. Let's get to some more. Those are the ones that are in the gray category, all those. This is one that maybe is much clearer. This is Lexington Hills. In fact, we have maintained this basin to some extent. There was some problems with the, there's some springs in the bottom of this, and my guys went out and defined this channel a little better. Have worked on this outlet structure. It blew out on a major rainfall in the past. So we have already touched it and already kind of in a maintenance mode on it. But we haven't formalized our process as you all would with the criteria we're talking about. They haven't given it to us, but it could be separated. I think it's owned half and half with these two owners. So with a division right down the middle. So we would require them to deed that to us, and it could undergo full city maintenance. This basin's designed with our old criteria, and in fact, this outlet structure only serves a 25-year storm event. So it probably overflowed over the weekend, Friday. This basin probably overflowed and reached the system down here, curtailing only the 25-year event. So that's what our old standards were. So we go to a 100-year storm, and we use an SCS type 2 distribution storm. So it's a little more robust. So the old way was, it served a purpose when it was what we did. Here's one we're all real familiar with, Covington Ridge. This one meets the criteria, or could meet the criteria, because it can be separated, because it could stand on a lot of its own. Right now, it's coupled with the 620/24. One of the issues is I think the owner would rather not undergo the expense of the division and generating that lot and all that expense. So there may be some opportunity for us to develop a method to deal with that. When, from time to time, we'll make improvements that require property owner investment, on properties like a channel line ditch or something. And we have in the past looked at maybe a payment approach, on those kind of things. Now, I don't know if you want to direct us to do that, but where people are strapped for cash and may not want to spend $800 on a plat, they might.
But as it stands now, we're responsible.
Yeah, right. That's exactly right. And per your all's directive, they'll remain that until we get it. But we have rebuilt it. I mean, we've already shown good maintenance in the thing, and it's doing a nice job. Let's move on. Stony Brook. This is one that is clearly accessible from the road. It's in Stony Brook subdivision, and it's outside of having this house built in the corner of it. It does pretty good, but it could be a candidate for our maintenance. I think it's sitting on a lot or two on its own right now currently, so it has potential. So we could just talk with the developer. The developer probably still owns this, so it might be a candidate to meet our full criteria. Here's one in Heartland. This is maintained very well by the owner, the folks at Dan Pointer, I think, is the guy that's TL's partner, maintains this, and he's very careful in his maintenance, and is very, you'll see him out there often, clearing or grading or taking care of the overgrowth. So that one might be a good candidate. Of course, it would have to be divided from this tract and established, per our criteria, but you do have access off Pear Orchard. So there's the main paved channel down through the middle of it. Here's one that we already are maintaining. It's our KDOT basins on Miles. We have a couple of these. And so that's what's going on there. Ivy Point, this is one that we have potential to maintain. It could be accessed here, but we'll have to work those details out here. It does have frontage, and I think it could be separated here, but again, we'd have to go through that plat process to make sure. So that's kind of a, we got one more, I guess. It fits in kind of that first category. It's tough to access, but this is a transition into the next topic that we're going to talk about. But it has some access here, but this thing lies back here in the rear of these houses. This is Shadow Creek. Kensington Way is the street, but so it would fail the test of being able to be divided. So we could provide catastrophic failure. This is the outlet structure. If it failed, we could help the owner by doing that. If that's the process we decided to move forward with.
All these properties that you've gone over right now, are they currently maintaining them, or any of them in like dire straits?
You know, all of them could use some maintenance and care. I mean, even, you know, you look at this one, I mean, there's obviously some grading issues or some, you know, this is pretty sketchy. You could improve that outlet, reinforce it with some more riprap, and get your seating levels up higher. You know, all of them could use some maintenance. I mean, they're like everything else in life. If they're not addressed every day, they can use some. But there's nothing crazy big, and I don't think there's not any big issues with them right now. They're just normal routine maintenance.
Checking on them periodically before a big issue happens that we might catch it?
Probably not as often as I should, Mayor, but you know, we do look at them on occasion. Most of our attention's complaint driven. You know, when we have a call that says, ooh, there's a problem in my yard, usually it's a citizen reported kind of thing. Of course, in our next chapter of us, I think we'll be able to do more of that. I think it's in the crystal ball that we're going to do some more of that. And so we'll be doing more methodical. Right now, currently we inspect annually, and we go out and inspect and look to see that there's no glaring issues. And we do that once a year with our summer help. That's what we do right now currently. So
If we were to go in and take bases over, have
Yes,
you
ma'am.
put a pencil to it as far as what the cost would be to make?
it would probably be, if we're talking about full maintenance, no, I haven't really done an estimate of it, but I think it would probably be scary if you start to look at the mowing and the repetitive work that if you had it done commercially, it could be a sizable expense. Just the mowing is something like that would be, you know, $40, $50 a week, and just, you know, from there, you know, extrapolate those funds and, you know, figure out what the present value of that all is. It's a lot of money, but you know, we're set up to do some maintenance right now, but it would probably take a little more manpower and maybe some more equipment to incorporate these. But I think the good news is the list of things that we would fully maintain is probably much smaller than what we even imagined when we had it in that 27, 28 basin category, and I think it's going to be in the single digits. You know, of course, we could always add to that list as we find them, but I think they're more closer to the single digit thing. But that's kind of an update of our basin inspection work. And of course, we can do some more projection of costs for you and bring those numbers back. I don't have any problem with that. But and then we can make a good decision. Y'all can make a good decision directing me to do whatever you want to do. But I do think a two-tiered approach is the way to go with the accessible, dividable basins being the candidates for full maintenance. And if you all decide that's what we need to do it, those will be the ones.
Excuse me, you're calling tier one, fully accessible, we maintain the basin calls. We can break that property off as its own.
own it, we can own it in
all years,
two, yeah.
catastrophic.
Yeah, which is really the best safeguard for the public right now. Tier twos would prove to be, I think, troublesome for us to maintain because access, I mean, the guy right now pulls out of his garage with his riding mower and hits the backyard, hits it with the backyard, and he's done in, 15 minutes. But, we'd have to get out and, pull large equipment there, and access between houses, do damage to the yard as we access. So they could be kind of fraught with problems. They could be more problems than they're worth, if you catch what I'm saying. So anyway, but we could expand on that and continue to help develop that policy as you all see fit.
Robert, could we trouble you guys to, tell us about the
Sure.
PowerPoint?
We'd love to.
Study that a little bit.
Okay, sounds good.
Didn't you give everybody one of these?
We'll email you a
I'm sorry,
PowerPoint.
I
Yeah,
thought this morning you said you were gonna give everybody.
I
one.
thought we did too, Mayor. I'm sorry, but
And you don't have to print it. I mean, just
we'll email
maybe
it.
if you just email it to me.
That's fine. Yeah, we sure will. And sorry to not have that in your hands right now. I thought we did. But, so anything else in this topic, and we'll shift gears. There's a part two to this that includes green space. So nothing left. We'll hammer that down. Let's talk about green space. And it's kind of a tangent upon basin maintenance. But we have the opportunity to do green space. We take on green space areas from time to time in subdivisions. And this is one that we did some time ago, Shadow Creek. It includes a couple of detention basins. And we basically own this area. Of course, there's another little, this one doesn't show the final subdivision configuration. Smoky Court extends down here into this area, but we essentially own this outline back up like so. So that's our property that we actually own. And so that's green space, and it's
So Robert, this was deeded to us by the developer.
right.
And before we accepted this, then did you have certain requirements? Or is that something new that you're talking about now?
This
before
would
you
be
accepted?
new compared to here. Here, I don't think we put any, well,
You just took it.
no, yeah, we took it. Yes. Yeah, this was in, really, it was leftover property from the subdivision development. It was in moderately poor shape, and we decided to take it anyway.
So since then, we talked about changing our policy to what we would accept.
Here we've, I don't know, the next one. This is some of the stuff that we've done to, this is the area that's kind of right here. This is behind this cul-de-sac, and the stabilization of this was very, very difficult for us. We spent a couple, 3 years in a seasonal project to try to stabilize and get grass up, and the dirt, a lot of the topsoil was gone. There was, a lot of clays, and it was very fragile dirt. And so we had to, on about 3 occasions, go back and reshape it, reseed it, put rock checks in. And you see, this was before our last reseeding. We got a call from a property owner up here and said, they were tired of looking at it. So we went in and tried to reshape. You can see here some of the erosion right in this area and right in this area. You can see our rock checks that we've employed. So it took quite a while for us to get to something that was a reasonable thing to maintain. And still, it's sloping. It's the soil types are, like I said, very fragile. It's hard to sustain grass there, but my guys are doing a good job of trying to stay on top of it. This side, and also on the other side of Smoky Court, there's a basin over there, and it's same prescription. It generates a lot of complaints and generates a lot of maintenance work for us. So getting ahead of these things and trying to develop a criteria where we look at these things a little closer and have some sort of water quality is important to us, and that's where these things have, I think, the best value to us as a city. And if you can incorporate a real water quality plan in these areas, I mean, this really lends itself. You know, the creek's back here in the back of the property, and you can see it going out that way. And if you developed real BMPs, water quality BMPs, and tiered them in this development, in this piece of property that, you know, is pretty well worthless, I think it could have a real benefit for us as a city. When we're approached with these things, here's one that we're being currently approached with right now, and it's a very similar kind of opportunity. I think we could you know, incorporate some BMPs and have something that is worthwhile in our overall structure of, you know, what we're trying to do as a city from certainly from the state and federal point of view as far as water quality.
I don't understand what you're talking about.
Well, let me.
Building it.
Well, what we're in the process of doing, there's some detention on this site here and down here, and what the developers proposed is that he give us all this property. So one of the things that we could do is to incorporate best management practices to ensure improved water quality in the stream that's down through here. So it would abate some of the runoffs from the subdivision and treat it and provide for a benefit for our water quality program. You move to the next. This is the kind of thing that, you know, we would like to move to. So instead of those eroded, sloped side slopes that you saw on that first one in Shadow Creek, if you know, these are little sub catchments that are developed here, and our water, basically stormwater drains through them, is treated, and some of it is infiltrated, treated, infiltrated, and it goes down here, and it reduces the flow that you have here, plus the flow that reaches here is much cleaner. So the process would include other processes in addition to, you know, these are water loving plants that would transpire some of the water out. You know, of course, you've got sun exposure to these areas that would again transpire again. So these are kind of designed passive, well, pretty much an active BMP, but it could look pretty passive in that area back there in that we're talking about.
So would the developer have to do all that work and then take it to us?
Well, that would be a question. Be a good question. I don't know that we could spring that on this one, but maybe in the future that we do that. But maybe we get some portion of this in the current one, since we're just trying to develop this criteria right now. We may let his engineer tell us what he would like to do, and we might accept, you know, that water quality design. But, you know, I think we have some options to explore there. But the good thing is that I think in the future we can move to this, and that would keep us from getting something like we have gotten in the past. This is a water quality area that is typical that you would see, and EPA certainly is focused here, and when they're focused, we're focused too. But that looks like a very tranquil little green area, but it's really working real hard to clean stormwater, and the effluent out of this is, you know, going to be very, very good. So, but that's the goal. But that's to move to develop some sort of criteria for accepting those areas and to incorporate active BMPs in them would be my recommendation in the long run.
Robert, would we
Yes, sir.
also be willing to allow green space, develop a park around this area?
I think that's ideal, Councilman. You know, some walkway trail type things and, yeah, and you have some overlooks and those things could be really attractive, as you saw from that last exhibit. It can be a real plus for the neighborhood. The neighborhood could, gravitate to that, walk their dog and have whatever they might do as far as, use this green areas as opposed to it just being a constant maintenance headache for us. Yeah, I think that's a good plus. Great idea.
Mark, can you go back to those slides?
Sure.
You had that look right there.
Yeah, okay.
No, one more. Forward.
One more?
Forward.
Uh-oh.
Not back.
So, wrong way.
There, right there.
Okay.
So, are you suggesting that behind Nichols Ridge, that something like that might be a good fit for that problem?
I think it would be, honestly. And I think it may not have to be this elaborate. Maybe you could do a portion of it since we're getting started, and we don't really have our criteria established. It might be a good thing to ask the developer, to do some of this. Maybe not all of it, maybe not.
That looks like a fairly costly project to build and with a lot of different excavation and things like that.
Right.
And also some landscaping.
Right.
Because green and stuff, and also some green space, so that's for some mowing and maintenance and stuff like that.
Right.
Right?
Right, it
And
does.
how many acres are we talking about?
I don't know how many acres. Yeah,
6 acres?
it's pretty good.
That's 6 acres. And up at the top, and forgive me, I just want, it says storm sewer outfall, that is
Right.
storm water runoff. right?
Yeah, it is.
That's the one that.
Right now, it's just running down the hill.
Yeah, it's going from here to here.
It'd be like that,
Right.
the picture, 3 or 4 in front of that where it was just the mud. So that's what it'd be like if we don't do something.
Well, this is in Shadow Creek. This is maybe a bad comparison for, I think Mr. Burkhead's track's probably in a little better shape.
Better shape.
Yeah, I think it is. This is a typical of it. Not that there's not some erosion going on. But anyway, we could kind of pick and choose and, you might do a portion of this, you might not do all of it. You might get started with a couple of them and us finish the work, it could be a cooperative like that, but of course, it just depends on what you all want us to do.
So that next frame, they were
Yes, sir.
talking, I don't know if they heard my question.
Yeah.
About
Oh, yeah, the one, that one.
Green space, take over the proper built benches and walkways.
If you had some pedestrian access between the houses and get back here to this and, maybe have a few scenic overlooks in it, have some, like you say, green space trails that weren't asphalt, but they might be chips or rock or something. Yeah, I think you could do that and you wouldn't have to go crazy with it. You could just have maybe an area right here that overlooked it. That was a nice subdivision level feature. Not a park per se, Ed, but more of a green space area you could visit and enjoy.
But open to the public or just?
Well, it's a good question. Yeah, I would say primarily you think this would be a neighborhood feature, but I don't think it would be a destination, something that would be. If it were connected into some green space trails, it could be a destination, maybe a walking, biking destination. But, that would be down the road. We would hope the trail system would get to that point that, it'd all be interconnected and all be accessible. So,
So
maybe.
you don't see that being marshy and wet?
Oh, yeah, I'd see that, down here in the bottom, yes, definitely. Yeah, I'd see it being that. part of the issue is, I guess, to the public's understanding what this looks like, as opposed to it being just all like mowed fescue every week, you know, that sort of thing. But, you know, these are natural riparian plants, and they look a little weedy, and they might harbor a frog or two, and, you know, you never know. Maybe
Man-made wetlands.
that's exactly right. And if you do it right, that's what you'd get. I mean, you expect amphibians and other wildlife to join you. Bird right there, he's not down there for his own health, he's looking for something to eat. But yeah, I think it's a good goal and a good way to use these properties that we're getting and have them not just be dead weight on the city, but instead be an attribute, an asset. But again, on this one, we might, you know, be measured, because I think, you know, the owners have approached us in the past to, you know, to accept this, and, you know, we've got some, you know, interest in doing that, and not be prohibitive in what we require of them, but be reasonable, I guess.
But that's what, like you to think about, put your heads together and decide, you know, the minimum that you would require developer to do before we took this over, and just make sure that they can afford to do, it's gonna be very costly.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions on this topic? I know it's kind of it's not an exciting topic.
It is for me.
Well, I appreciate that.
But I'm weird that way.
Well, that's good. That's good. But that's, that said, Mayor, you want me to shift to the next topic? I'll try to be brief with this, and I hope we did get a copy of the ordinance that we're looking at in your hands. Through that, this is the Plan Certain program that we're talking about, and this ordinance really addresses the builder level Plan Certain stuff. We're talking about, again, a two-tiered approach, one at the subdivision level and one at the builder level. So the revisions here, I think, will help us get the builders, and this is for primarily the existing lots in town. The subdivision level approach will kick in and help with the new lots that we generate. But we have this, as I can tell you, we got a lot of currently divided parcels that are, you know, available and ready to be built upon right now. And how do we control those and ensure that they are not troublesome for us in their finished floor elevation? So through this ordinance, I think we can get there. And this is about 99%. Mary's been very helpful in getting me to this point with this ordinance. We've got maybe one little revision, but I think it's probably pretty much in shape.
Everything that's underlined, all
It's all,
additions.
all new stuff, yeah. Yeah, sure is. And it's not a drastic change in the other one, but it is it doesn't look like it on paper, but we're asking them to do quite a bit more than what we're doing right now. And that is a full-blown plan going into the house construction, you know, that they manage it through the building process, you know, with engineering control, with, you know, surveying work, and a final as-built plan to show that they've indeed met the criteria that we've set forth. So, like I said, it's just a few different words, but but I think it's a valuable thing because, you know, I think we have a charge to the public to, when someone buys a house in Newtown, that, you know, that we can better guarantee it's a livable home, and it's going to serve them for not just their lives, but some subsequent owner, and again, subsequent owner, that it has, it's not something that is instantly going to be, I wish I didn't buy that, I hadn't bought that house, because it floods. And could be local flooding, or it could be the FEMA flood. But I think that ordinance will do the job, like I said. I'm going to brush up a little bit on the as-built requirement. I'm going to ask Mary to help me rewrite that a little bit more, but otherwise it's in pretty good shape.
Robert, we talked on the phone a couple months back.
Sure.
When we put in the new stormwater drainage system flood areas, how long would it take the FEMA flood insurance to produce? Said about a year and a half, 2 years.
Well, yeah, I think that's accurate. Of course, we're looking at a crystal ball and saying, predicting what FEMA is going to do. But from what the state, the folks that manage the FEMA program for the state tell me, they say a FEMA redo is scheduled for this area for 2020, which sounds like it's way off into the future. But that work should start, should lead probably a year and a half. So that doesn't,
Right, because, for this conversation, several business owners asked me, once this is completed, how long is it going to take for insurance?
of course, one of the other solutions is that we do it in-house, and I haven't reviewed the budget right now, so I don't know. We do have an option to take it in-house and hire a consultant and go out and do that work, and that's possible. And but whether we want to spend our money like that or wait for FEMA to do it and hopefully bet on them to do it well, and I think if we can get them back here, we can get them to do it, like we needed to. We'll get them to perform as they need to. We can give them all our materials and let them use that as the basis of the new maps, all the knowledge that we have in our master planning work.
Initiated on our own, which we decided this year not to.
Right.
Because we initiated on our own, we simply wait for the FEMA to decide.
That's the key. I think that's the key. Yeah. And it's probably smart to do that. I mean, because it's a massive federal program and it's a pretty good expense for us locally. But, and it would bother me to say, to recommend that we do it this year, tomorrow, and get started on it, and turn around and see FEMA come in and say, oh, we're ready to remap you in 6 months. Or, we're going to get started on remapping, in 2018, mid 2018. That's true. That's true. And the FEMA remaps were supposed to come quicker than they have. 2007 was the last one. Expected it to be much quicker. 88 was the prior one, so hopefully it'll be much. Hopefully 2020 is the date.
And the remap is supposed to take.
Right. All the flood improvements, all the detention that we've done in town, all the capacity improvements that we've done. The Poplar project, all that should be submitted, will be submitted to them and be incorporated in their model. I feel certain we can get those results out of them. So it should make a drastic difference in those areas that, as far as, it'll bring a lot of those homes out of the floodplain, or at least put them in a situation where an elevation certificate can prove that they're out of the floodplain, one of the two. So we're hopeful that that's the case. That's what we're working for. The rest of the program will come at the subdivision level, and I'm still talking about plan certain. Ed and I have a meeting this week to go through some of the details that are going to need to be improved in the subdivision stuff and that material. So there'll be some tweaks in that require them to do more, and it's like we discussed earlier, to plan the home finished floors in conjunction with ditches and the street curb and everything all together. It'll make for a more integrated process, and it'll take the individuality right now, and that's the thing that seems to be the issue, is that you'll have builder A decides, well, I'm going to put a walkout in this property, and you can't do it. So he cuts one side of it and makes something that nobody can work with, on down the line. So in a fashion, with the subdivision level controls, it will give builders a parameter that they can build to. It's not going to be that rigid, but it's going to be, there'll be some minimum finished floors that they can they can adopt and incorporate into their plan. So it'll keep them from getting out there and running ad-libbing and causing a real problem because, you know, for whatever reason that they do that. So we're hopeful we can, once we hammer out the subdivision level stuff, we'll move to a public meeting and invite all the developer engineer, builders, and everybody associated with the program, and have some good presentation and get some feedback from them, and hopefully get some good buy-in from them. I think by and large, most of them want to do better, and you know, we're not talking about every builder that has an issue or every subdivider, but you know, there's that exception that you manage toward. But we think that it'll be well received. The only issue is going to be, you know, the costing is going to be more to develop a home in Elizabethtown. Again, I think that investment in the housing stock is maybe another $600 to $800 per unit sold, but I think it's a good investment to better ensure that it's done well, and someone doesn't have a $200,000 investment that they can't really live in or don't feel good about living in. So I think it'll be worthwhile in the end. But we'll incorporate the feedback that we get, and hopefully it'll be all positive and move forward, and then come back to you all and say, this is our program.
The only other question I had, it's not related to this. But
Yes.
You know, in 2006, we had the flash flood.
Oh, yeah.
That was a 500-year.
Yeah, 500 to 1,000 some spots. Yeah.
How did we do it on Friday?
Friday was a really short interval peak rainfall event. It was mid threes, 3.4 inches, something in that regard. But it came in such a short period of time that, you know, the rate was like at about 3.85 inches per hour. So it hammered our system pretty good. What we do best with is, you know, a 7-inch rainfall event distributed over 24 hours. We'd be much better with that event than we would be those really short interval peaky events. What you get, you know, technically, is just you get the sliver of it's a kind of a bell-shaped curve. What we get is just that middle section for 2 hours, 3 hours, and you get all the flow in that 3-hour event. You get all the flow of a 25 years or maybe even 100-year storm event. But it's one of those odd little rains that can't explain it, except, you know, Mother Nature does that to you when you use design standards, and that's what the 100-year and the 25-year, those are design parameters that, you know, these are standard storms. And first thing I guess Mother Nature tells you is, you know, there's no such thing as a standard storm, and we just have to work with what we're doing. I know there's some flooding around town, and it's a lot of them in areas where we've worked in the past. I think a lot of our structures held up well, but it does show us where we need some more work. And you know, again, it's hopefully the rainfall events, the hydrology doesn't change, you know, a lot. I think you're seeing some of that. Well, I'm not a big believer in, but things are changing. So, and we are seeing more rain and more concentrated rain in this very erratic sort of cloudburst kind of situation. Of course, anytime you have a tropical storm blow up from the Gulf and you get here in a couple, 3 days, that's what you get. But anyway, we're trying to respond to the inquiries that we have, and hopefully we can get through them and lend help where we can for folks and give them some advice when we can. Some of it is there's some issues with flood proofing. I think on some calls that we've had, some are just that simple. They need to flood proof their home against this large peak rainfall event. Some of them are maintenance. We can, you know, do more maintenance in some of our creeks, and we are active with that every day. But it's like everything else; you can always do it more often. You know. But anyway, but we're there to respond to the people, the folks' needs. Hope we can address those things. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Robert.
Uh-huh.
Mary Shadon, the ABC administrator, and Dee Dee. We're gonna talk about alcohol.
Huh?
That sounds sick.
No pre-samples, I'm sorry. Lights. This past legislative session, there was 3 House bills that were passed that impacted the state ABC laws, which also impacts ours. They involve local option elections, state and local administrators, licensing process, licenses type, and licensing practices. And I sent you a very lengthy memo last week that outlined all of those. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer those. But I just wanted to review what specifically has changed in our ordinance, or will be once it's approved. On the license fees, I've reformatted it so it matches the states exactly. They have eliminated the malt beverage brew on premise license, so we're taking that out. And the city can now issue qualified historic site licenses. So I've added that in the fee, which is $1,030. Under certain licenses, on an NQ2, most of those that we have that have an NQ2 are restaurants, and the current is you have to have 50 seats and 50% food sales. The 50 seats has been eliminated, so it's just 50% food sales. So we took that out, and also in the hotels, 50 seats, but currently we do not have a hotel that has an NQ2. The distilleries now have to get an NQ2. Used to it was an NQ3, so I've adjusted those, and they updated the temporary license to include a nonprofit charitable organization, or you can get a temporary license to be in conjunction with a civic event or community sponsored event, such as a fair or Blues Barbecue and Bike or the Heartland Cruising Heartland. In the section on applications and licenses, last year the state required that our license have to expire when their license expires. So now we have 2 dates, and typically if it's the license is for 6 months or less, we only charge them half price for their license, their initial license. So we updated that language. And then under conditions and prohibitions and restrictions, the state has changed the requirement on the size of the pregnancy warning signs to 8.5 by 11. So now they can access that on their computer and print that off instead of trying to get a larger size. So, and just so you know, Dee Dee and I did attend the first ever ABC Summit earlier this month in Northern Kentucky. It was very educational. A lot of networking went on. I think the first time ever in that kind of setting that you had local administrators with the main state administrator, the malt beverage administrator, and the distilled spirits administrator, along with their main general counsel in a room. So we had lots of questions, and hopefully we learned a lot. it was a nice.
It was very well attended.
It
There were
was.
a lot of people there who were considering going, you know, Oyster Wet, or so they want to be educated, and they're going to hold it every other year. I think Mary said, you know, so but we really felt like we got a lot out of it, and she said it really was nice, and it was a nice networking. And there's a whole new commission, as she said. So Christine Trout is the ABC commissioner now, and then we have, you know, she said the commissioner of distilled spirits and malt-based beverages. So yeah, they were all there, and we got to, you know them and talk to them personally. Of course, Steve Humphreys is just, you know, the most knowledgeable person about alcohol laws in this state. So it was great. He was there both days. Very nice, very good event, very worthwhile, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Is there any questions?
Now, how soon will this change again?
We will probably consider this, a change again next year. They have told us they are trying to streamline everything. And you see one of the places it says that on applications, it will either be denied, approved, or issued. So when they process the application. That will be the terminology they use to, they are trying to streamline everything, make it easier, I hope. They're also taking all the population requirements. They're working on taking the population requirements out of things so that it's equal across the state, whether you're a city of 500 or 100,000, that everybody can issue the same license and.
Mary, speaking of language, what does NQ2 and NQ3 specifically stand?
NQ stands for non-quota. So like a non-quota 2, it's just there's certain licenses that can be issued under the NQs. A NQ2 is a restaurant, a hotel, a distillery, now entertainment district, and airport and a riverboat. So not all of those will pertain to us. And an NQ3 is a private club that has to be in existence for longer than a year. A dining car or a bed and breakfast can get an NQ3. So it's just, it's just one of their license types. And those are by the drink for consumption on the premise. Yeah, we can have a riverboat.
Could you address the change with regard to juveniles being on premises for small businesses?
One thing that they have changed is there's always been, in the minors on premises, there's been exceptions such as restaurants and theaters and those type things. They put in the statute this time that the board, which is the 3 administrators and the general counsel, they create the state ABC board. They can do an administrative review of a place to allow minors, because you're getting a lot of barbershops and spas, and those they have to prove that they can control it and that they're going to, that it's not going to be accessible to minors. So if they can do that, there's going to be a process that they're working on right now, because we have had somebody already ask about a spa's ask to get a license, and of course they want to be able to do stuff to minors. That they said now just write a letter explaining what you're doing and how you're going to control it, and then they would review it. But eventually will be a process. So lots of changes are coming. Some are laws and some are just administrative changes, but there are lots of changes coming.
Thank you all very much. Okay, Don Hill, did you go home yet? Still here?
Mayor, Council, Saturday night, we received a call from CSX Railroad asking for assistance at the East Crutcher Street crossing between East and West Railroad. They had a soft spot that developed on their mainline track in the asphalt area, which caused the asphalt to pump up. So we went out there and shut the road down, or shut the street down, and they've excavated it, stabilized it, and it's going to be shut down until Wednesday or Thursday when they can get their paving contractor to come in and replace the pavement of the asphalt area. So we just wanted to let you all know, emergency services was notified Saturday night. It was somewhere around 10:30, 11 o'clock. So, and they worked through the night on it. And I saw a train go by on yesterday, so they're using it. But we just wanted to let you all know that East Crutcher is shut down between just that crossing between East and West Railroad. Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Any other big announcements? I ran home for lunch today, and then a scroll and WDRB was on. I just happened to have it on. Scrolled across, said, Chief Tracy Schiller is retiring from city town after 6 years, according to the city mayor. And I'm like, did it ever scroll across?
That's right.
No, I know. And they never will. I know.
But anyway.
Yeah, anyway.
You have
Make it up.
Criminal stuff on top of our others, so I mean.
So we gotta thank Kelly.
So this-
All right.